Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our final review of Life is But a Dream by Avenged Sevenfold. The whole week listening to this album, and I gotta say, for my first time really diving into an Avenged Sevenfold album, I'm not the most impressed. I think I started the week pretty hyped for this, because a couple of songs really they went into the playlist right away. I was really kind of digging it, and I was like, okay, the rest of the album's gonna grow on me and stuff like that. And the hype was good. I was into it. So, I guess to get the songs that I really liked out of the way, Mattel and Nobody, right, tracks 2 and 3, I think those are fantastic songs. I think they're composed really well. I think they're unique sounding. Mattel has a really interesting composure. It really hits hard at certain points. You know, the parts of my where it kind of just comes in, it's like speaker blowing kind of thing. The chorus feels unique. It's got a cool reverb on the vocals. The drums are rad as fuck in this song. Super groovy.
Brooks killed it on this entire album.
Yeah, drums are amazing on this album. You got all kinds of fancy stuff happening, ghost notes and all kinds of cool stuff. Nobody is a song that I liked it in the first impressions too. We were kind of weird on it when we reacted to it, but I feel like the guitar work is great on this song. I feel like it's got a really menacing sounding riff to it that I'm really attracted to. The vocals are rough, but they have this charm to them that I just came to like, and I think they're great. The main riff is mesmerizing. I like how the percussion sort of builds up in the pre-chorus, and then there's guitar sweeps in the chorus, which are pretty rad. The song's just got a lot of really cool elements that are really attractive to my ears. So that song went right in the playlist, didn't get bored of it at all, those two songs. Then track number 4, We Love You. This is another song that I liked, but it's not without flaws. So this song starts off with a really cool drum intro. It's got some syncopated stuff going on, and then it turns into this house beat style groove with like EDM style vocals.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets progressive, and it kind of switches and changes. But when it switches, it kind of gives me like that stank face. Like I just go, fuck yeah, like this hits hard, right? And then halfway through, it turns into a Lamb of God song. I don't know if you caught that or not, but it turns into a Lamb of God song with like a Slayer style solo.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to.
So it's kind of like all over the place, but really not in a good way. I feel like the song really has trouble finding a focus point. And for that reason, it doesn't make my playlist, but it's odd because sectionally, I kind of like all the sections. It's just, I'll put them all together. It didn't really jive well with me. After that, this album falls apart. Like a waterfall, it just drops off. And somebody in the comments mentioned the song Cosmic and said, hey, how come you guys didn't mention Cosmic in the first impressions? And I went, okay, well maybe I gotta give this song another chance because it never really did anything for me. So I did. I listened to it several times, and it still didn't do anything for me. I feel like the song is way too long for what it is. It's over 7 minutes long, 7.5. And I was like, it's a nice song. It's okay, not bad, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It just, I don't know. It starts off as a ballad, and then there's like this 2-minute elongated guitar solo almost. I don't know. It felt like they were trying to turn like a dream sequence into music. And I get that. A lot of artists do that. For me, this one didn't work. After that, really nothing else to say. We talked about it last week, the Daft Punk vibe, the barbershop or traditional pop vibe, the piano at the end in Life is But a Dream. But I think I figured out what the G in the God Trilogy stands for.
Oh, what does G stand for? Let's hear it.
So just to explain, you remember when the creator of GIF animations came out and said it's pronounced GIF, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's pronounced GIF."
I didn't know the creator even mentioned that.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, like a few years ago, like everybody thought it was GIF the whole time, right? GIF, and the creator said no, it's actually pronounced GIF, and it was mind blown.
Okay.
And then there were some memes that went around and said, "What if God came to Earth and said it's pronounced Jod?" Yeah. So this is based on that. This is based on the G having a soft G sound and not a hard G sound. So based on the way the song sounds, I think the G stands for Dream Theater. Because I know that's the corniest joke ever, but Dream Theater. You can say it with a G and it still says Dream Theater. Go ahead and click that dislike button. But I feel like this song sounds like Dream Theater or like a copy of Dream Theater or something like that. But yeah, I didn't really like the song anyway, so it is what it is. But I also thought it was funny that it's the only song in this God Trilogy that didn't actually have a word for the first letters, because Ordinary and Death are the other ones. So, yeah, I like some stuff, didn't like other stuff on this album.
Well, I guess if we're going to start on the topic of G, I was, in my note, I was saying G must stand for groovy, because I really like the grooves of this song. It's really fun to listen to. The Dream Theater comparison makes perfect sense. They have that exact kind of sound that you would expect.
Dream Theater. Say it with a G. It sounds the same.
So and not only that, but I would say Cosmic kind of sounds like Dream Theater a little bit. But, you know, I thought Cosmic was great. I think it's almost like a 10-minute song in 7 minutes. It's got this 3-act structure, and it really just evolves as it goes, and you really just feel like, whoa, like you're kind of just ascending by the end. Awesome. It's a shame to see that around the halfway point you said that the album falls off, because I think Beautiful Morning is fucking awesome. Just this ascending guitar going up with the vocal harmony seriously just sounds like Them Bones by Alice in Chains. Love that song. And the intro groove, which is also the chorus of that song, fucking awesome. Like, I'm belting that shit every single time it comes on. Super duper fun. Now, this album, and I said this last week, like the vocals, sounds a little bit strained, like I don't know, but I think this album is a really, really good example as to why we do things the way we do them. We don't put on an album and then our album reviews just the day of after one listen. That doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So listening to this album throughout the week, I started to notice more things, and I started to really, think about these vocals, and I think, is it a problem? And when M Shadows goes into the high range, yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm. His falsetto doesn't sound bad, but it's that high range and a little bit iffy, but I got over that. It's not like the entire album is that. It's just parts of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's not like the whole thing is, because he sounds good in any other range. The screams sound good. Like, he sounds good. It's just the highs are a little, but that's it. So I was able to get over that. This album, I feel like overarching wise, it kind of just really plays to what I like. I like this big adventure that it goes on. The songs twist and turn and go all over the place. They play around with genre. They have this Random Access Memories Daft Punk sounding song. They have this like kind of parlor music kind of song. Like, I like that. And when Death comes on, it's so beautiful but so sad at the same time. And just by the end, I fly away and it's just like, oh my god.
And then up to a crescendo, like a movie score or something.
Yeah, it's this huge crescendo, and then this almost Chopin-sounding piano piece to cap it off. And I think that's awesome. I think that's a very bold move. If someone wanted to get into this band, and they don't know this band well, I wouldn't say to start here, because by all accounts, this is very different to what people know this band for. If you already know what they sound like, then you can kind of say okay, they're experimenting. Whoa, they're doing all this stuff. And in some songs, they are doing stuff that sounds more like what you know them for, like Game Over or Mattel. Mattel in particular, I love that song. Nobody's interesting. I was split when we reacted to it. And I liked it a little bit more in our first impression. Now, it's one of my favorite songs of the year. The power this song has, the size, the layers.
The riff is so good.
The riff, everything about that song is kick ass. And it's another example as to why we do things the way we do them. Because things always have that potential to grow. The fact that it took a week, not even a week, honestly, my second run through of this album, it's really started to light up for me, whoa, there's something really cool here.
Yeah, it was pretty early on when I added that song to the playlist. You just know instantly, it's a good example of simplifying something but making it effective. Because we're talking about the riff, it's nothing profound, it's nothing crazy, but it's just executed so nice.
It's
effective.
Go take a walk. and put on Nobody. Just take a walk and listen to it, and you'll feel powerful on that walk. You'll feel like you're walking like all over everything and everyone. Like
10 feet tall.
Like exactly, yeah. Another small thing, and this is yet another reason why we listen to things for a week. A tiny thing, and I noticed this pretty early on in Mattel, during the verses, that little piano that kind of comes down, it was so cool. And every time it would happen, I'd be like, oh, there's that little piano bit. And I think songs that do that, songs that have small bits that'll jump out at you that are really cool, are some of the greatest songs. Like Mattel, sick song. And that's just only one of the reasons why I think it's super sick.
Yeah.
So I was finding like, I think for some people, I think this album in general, some albums you can listen to on shuffle and it's fine. I don't know if this album's great on shuffle just because the way that it's paced kind of just takes you a certain direction, you know?
Yeah.
Like it makes sense to have the title track where it is. It makes sense to have the God trilogy the way that it is, even though it does kind of like randomly switch around. I didn't mind it on shuffle, but I could see for other people it might be a bit confusing on shuffle. But you know, you can't really knock an album for that. This album was made and the tracks were ordered in a certain way for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I look at this track listing, I'm like, almost every single song to me is a great song that I enjoyed thoroughly. Like the only one I would really say is not like, oh, this is awesome, is like Easier, but even then, I think that's a pretty cool song with a good riff in it. And I would have said Game Over, but more recently, like within the last day or two, that one started growing on me as well. And I was looking into, you know, some of the interviews with M Shadows about this album, and it's really interesting that this album kind of has a centralizing theme of existentialism and death, and realizing, you know, how valuable the time on your earth is, like your time on earth is, and stuff like that, and how things can be a little bit open-ended for your own interpretation. I think it's just really cool, interesting, and the lyrical content's really nice.
Yeah, so I guess it's time to rate it.
All right,
So,
well, I'll go first. I think this album is awesome from front to back. I can understand that it might be divisive for people, but I think if you have an open enough mind and try to let go of some of the conventions that this band has built up with the older records, you'll understand that there's really cool and interesting stuff sounding here. And I think if this band dropped an album that just sounds like all the old stuff, would it really be that interesting or special to talk about? Or them being bold and going this completely different direction that people aren't even ready for? I feel like that's the more memorable one, the one that you can talk about more and that there's more content of. So I think this album is just kick-ass from front to back, a really fun experience. It's going to get my toe tag.
nicely said. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm in a different boat. I'm not one that has conventions about older albums because I'm never really a fan of this band. Not that I didn't like them, I just never got into them. And there's a difference there, a discernible difference. So as somebody who's kind of diving into Avenged Sevenfold, you could say probably for the first time, I felt like the album lacked direction. I felt like it lacked focus. And I felt like it was just a little bit too experimental to be tolerable for somebody that's listening for a first time. You did mention that for a first listener, it's not a good album to start with. And I don't know what their other albums sound like. I know Backcountry, that's the only other song I know. So if the other albums don't sound like this, then yeah, start with something else, because this one's a little bit too experimental, too all over the place, genre bending, all that kind of stuff. So for the fact that I only liked 3 songs, and I liked other elements too. They throw some cello in certain songs with some violin, and
they
you got
had an
cello
entire orchestra with them.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was like a 78-piece like string orchestra, like
exactly. So stuff like that, I do
serious
appreciate
business.
stuff like that. But when you only have it on a few songs and the rest of them are kind of just experimental pieces, you're just kind of feel like you're tacking onto the album to pad it. To me, that doesn't go a long way. So it's gonna get a 5 for me. I want to stress that a 5's not a horrible score on this channel. It's a medium score, obviously. But I also want to stress that you should still listen to it, right? Regardless if we love an album or hate an album or indecisive, whatever, you should always still listen to these albums and gain your own opinions, and don't just think, oh, Vile thinks it sucks, so it sucks. Like,
yeah.
You might love this album. I know, like, people were talking about the song Cosmic. You liked Cosmic. I didn't like Cosmic. I tend to be a little bit more harsher with my criticisms on some of these things. Maybe I'm more closed-minded. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, unfortunately the second half of this album just really flopped for me. So it's a 5.
Understandable. A 5 from Vile Self. and a toe tag for myself. And that's all we got for you guys today. Remember to like this video if you liked it. Tell us in the comments below. A week later, how are you feeling about this album? You know, it changed. For me, it went from good to great. Didn't really grow for Vile. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile Self.
And keep the horns up.